Hello champions and future champions, hello Chessmood family. Few days ago when we covered how to play against Colorado Gambit, we had this pawn structure and we spoke about this strong knight on e5 on the opponent's weak central square and about backward pawn, how problematic is this thing. Now I have a question for you. Do you think is there places when it's good to have backward pawn? I offer you to pause the video and think about this question. Okay. It's very surprising, but there are cases when it's good to have backward pawn, and today we will speak about this topic. Let's go to the first example. After e4, c6, d4, d5, Caro-Kann defense. In our Chessmood openings we play here e d5, c d5 and bishop d3, exchange variation which is very dangerous for black. After knight c6, c3, e6, there is interesting move for white f4. With the idea next to play knight f3, short castle, queen e2, and then with f4 pawn together with d4, white very well control the e5 square, and in the future they will have the e5 square for their knight, and they will start attack in the king side. Now after f4, what do you think if black plays f5? Is this a good move? Is this a bad move? Why? I offer you to pause the video and think. Okay, at first glance this looks horrible move. After f5, black weakens their e6 pawn, and they will have a backward pawn here. Also, they will have e5 a weak square. However, from another point of view, black gets e4 square for their knight. So in the future, black can try to play knight f6 and knight e4. So, which square is more important, e4 or e5? And even if e4 and e5 squares are equal weak, what about backward pawn on e6? Looks like white should have advantage. However, everything is not so clear. Look what will happen. After white developed the pieces and black also developed the pieces, so knight f3, knight f6, white castles, black plays bishop d6, let's say white played rook e1, so they have rook in front of the backward pawn, and let's say short castle, here we have the position. White has e5 square for their knight and black has c4 square for their knight. Look what will happen. When black plays knight e4, whenever we take the knight, it can be bishop e4 or in future we can exchange the knight on b1 with the knight on e4. After bishop e4, d4 or f e4, in both cases black will have a strong connected central passed pawn. Or f e4, the same thing. Black has very strong central connected passed pawn, and it's very good for black. If we try to do the same thing with white pieces, look what will happen. When black takes knight e5 and we take d5 or f e5, it's not a passed pawn, because after black moves the bishop, black has e6 pawn, which stops the e5, and the e5 pawn is not a connected passed pawn, while black has very strong knight on e4, and whenever we try to remove this knight from the game, black will have connected passed pawn after both cases, d4 or f e4. So after f4, f5, both of the sides will have weak squares, e5 and e4 accordingly. However, the e4 square is gonna be much more annoying for us, because when opponent knight comes to e4, whenever we take, opponent will have a strong pawn in the center. But when we played knight e5 and opponent takes, e5 pawn is not as strong as opponent's pawn on e4. Additionally, with f5 move, black limits the dark square bishop. We have c3, d4 and f4 pawns, and the bishop on c1 becomes very bad. And after knight f6, knight e4, black will be okay. Also, the knight on e4 will cover the problem of e6 pawn. For example, in the case when the rook is on e1 and trying to put pressure on e6, when black plays knight e4, the knight covers the e6 pawn, and white cannot easily attack this pawn. Let's go to the next example. It's white to move, how to play. I offer you to pause the video and think. Okay, we have a position from Sicilian. White has half a pawn line for their rook, but the light square bishop is limited here with e4 pawn. It would be much better if the bishop was on c4 and together with f1 rook they could put pressure on f7. But here we have what we have. And here white has a very strong move. They can play knight d5. And at this point I think you guess the move what we will play next. Okay, our next move is gonna be to play c4. after which we will have a very strong knight on d5. Whenever black tries to exchange, we will take cd5 or e5 and have a very strong connected passed pawn. And when black plays knight d4, no worries, because after knight d4, cd4 or ed4, there is a no connected passed pawn because of the d3 pawn. And after we play knight d5 and then c4, we have a very strong knight on the center of the board. This idea we can do in other pawn structures as well. Let's go to the next example. Position from the same Caro-Kann defense from exchange variation. Black wants to play a before starting minority attack, and here is white to play what to do. Are you free to pause the video and think? Okay, we play here before. At first glance, looks like we are weakening the c3 pawn, and in future with c-line, black can put pressure here. But after you watch the previous example, you know that no worries about this, because when we play knight c5, the knight on c5 will cover the problem of weak c3 pawn, and whenever black plays knight d7, knight c5, we take dc5 or bc5, we will have here a very strong connected passed pawn. I hope very much that you will use this lesson, this interesting concept in your games. At the end of today's lesson, I have a homework for you as always. Here we go, black to move, what to play. You can post your answers in the comment section of the video, and I'm looking forward to seeing you during the next daily lessons with Grandmasters.